Finally, for June, we're going to do the Trellis Stitch. Trellis Stitch is very intense on thread usage, so I have a pretty long length of thread here on my needle. This is also one where I will switch needles. When I'm finished doing the back stitching, I'm going to do switch to a tapestry needle. So I've got a circle marked, and what we're going to do first is to back stitch around the outer edge of the circle. Now you don't want to make your stitches too big, but just try to keep them consistent. This stitch is a trying one. It's gonna take a while to do this guy. So I'm afraid this video may be pretty long. All right. What we're going for is this beautiful circle with this, I can't even describe, it almost looks like a succulent plant, how it grows around and around in rounds. But we're gonna back stitch around the outside and then stitch around on the inside, kind of weave a design. There's another stitch out there. If you search Trellis Stitch, sometimes you'll find videos where they're making a stitch that's kind of a grid that looks like the trellis that your plants grow on. They're unrelated, these two. All right. And this one, I would definitely, I like it in the variegated thread very much. Let's see, is that a really, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to go down and then I'm going to come back up right here in between the two stitches. And then I am going to do something I rarely do, but I'm going to switch to a tapestry needle just because it's a little easier for the weaving part. I can work with the back of the needle too, but it's just easier to do this, less jabbing. All right, so I've got the tapestry needle. I think, do we have two sides? The one that I grabbed was a 24. So what we're going to do now is working clockwise. We're going to put our needle under our stitch, and then wrap the thread around. Hold it with your left finger and pull it through. And it should be pretty snug. Okay, move the thread out of the way. Into the next stitch, going clockwise. Take the thread around and behind the needle. Hold everything in place with no knots, please. And pull it through. And it's pretty important to try to maintain a consistent tension to get a really nice piece. Keep going. And you're going to be doing this approximately forever. It's a very intensive stitch. Okay, under the stitch, bring the thread to the right and then behind, pull it through. And it doesn't look like anything until you go around 3 or 4 times. So I think I like it better with the smaller stitches, but it's kind of hard for me to judge stitch size on the back stitches when I first start. Okay. And this is definitely one where as you get going, I'm gonna wish that I knew where my reading glasses were. All right. I have one example of the trellis stitch that I did with razzle thread, which is just glorious. I'll make sure I put a picture of that in the section. So almost back to the beginning. So I'm going to put one more stitch into that stitch that I started with. Now I've gone all the way around. And next I want to go, this is where it gets kind of hard to see. I want to go in between the previous two stitches. So here's the row of stitches I originally did, and then here's the loop that I formed from my last one. So now I'm stitching into that row that I formed. Let's see if we can see the original base stitches are the white, and the blue is the stitch that I formed in the first round. And I'm gonna do my twist and do the next one. All right. And then just keep going around and around and around. And really, it's not very impressive for a while, but this is normal. Trust me, I've done this before. Once you get into it, though, it really, it's kind of relaxing. I get very excited when I can see the pattern start to form, too. One thing about this one that's interesting is only the outer edge is really fastened to the fabric. All the rows on the middle are all open. Let's see, is that one? Yeah. It becomes pretty apparent later if you skip a stitch or if your tension is off. So try to keep the tension on your stitches even. I have done this a bunch of times, and I've only managed to get one that's really perfect. And I kind of want to cut it off the piece that it's on and frame it by itself. I think they're just one that needs a lot of practice. So now I've gone around again, and now I'm just going to start going into the next row. So you just keep going at it. You want to be stitching into the most recent row, and hopefully things don't get all tangled up on you. There we go. It's a good time to hold my piece up and let the thread untwist if it's misbehaving like that. So we're going to go in between these stitches here and do our little wrap. I just can't imagine the person who invented this. They're like, oh, you know what I think would look neat? because it is not rewarding for quite a while. But you can start to see it forming up. I think the pattern I was trying to think of before was kind of fractals, the way it swirls around. Oof. That's a good knot. I must have got my thread going the wrong way here for it to be misbehaving like this. There we go. Things get very twisty on this one because we're just going around and around so much. Okay. And I've got a space here I'm seeing where like the stitches were a little big and stuff was a little loose. I just try to make sure that like at some point I come through and kind of tighten it up. And you can do that, so you can pull them a little closer together. Although it's all right. For me, the fact that it's not perfect later on really isn't critical. Of course it's not going to be perfect. It's handmade. I think this is a good one if you wanted to do an embroidery of a tide pool too. I've been following an artist named Amy Reeder who does wool felting, and she does embroideries of tide pools, and I've been entranced by them. She does wool felting and beading and, you know, all the fun stuff. And you can see the pattern starting to develop with the variegation of the thread. Okay, I'm just gonna drop my needle and untwist a little. And I am going to make sure that during our discussion demo sessions that I probably will have one of these partway done. I'll start one and then finish a different one. That's always pretty effective. You can see we're getting a little closer. I have seen, like, if you can do a few rounds and then stop when it starts to show, and nothing says you have to close the circle if you don't want to. It's just such a small stitch. I just think maybe I'll do, see if I can find some larger thread and see how it looks with that too. It would certainly be faster with a larger thread. It'd fill in more quickly. You see how it's starting a pattern? Is my UPS truck alarm barking. It's interesting that he's still barking. Usually somebody else in the house tells him to be quiet. I'd rather not scream in the recording. There we go. Okay. So really, this is what I'm talking about with this one. It just lasts a long time. I wouldn't plan on using this stitch on any quick projects that you want to finish in a day. All right, so my thread is getting a little too short here, so I am going to do one more stitch and then I'm going to stop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my thread down right here to the back of the fabric. Not too tight because I want to be able to keep stitching. And I'm just going to take a little stitch through the back of the fabric and knot my thread off so that I can start again. All right. And I will put this here. And if I was really good at this, I would have threaded another one. But once again, I'm going to take a pretty long length because I think I can finish this in one more. Of course, I can't get it into the chenille needle tonight. The eyes on the chenille needle are nice and long, but still kind of narrow. All right, got it. Okay, got my knotted thread. Sorry about that. And I am going to bring it up in about the same spot that it went down in. And start again. And keep going until I get to the middle. And as much as this is fussy and I will gripe about it, it is very satisfying to watch it fill in and come together. It just takes some patience. Okay. So you can see how pretty it looks as the variegation swirls around into the middle. And the texture is just, it feels so interesting. Okay. And you can stop at any point you want. But when you go all the way to the middle, it just looks so cool. Let's see, so it's taken me, we're at 21 minutes. Oh, I know you guys appreciate the short videos. I can't do a short one on this one. But really nothing new happens as you're going along. It's the same stitch, the exact same thing over and over again all the way in. It's really it's pretty relaxing, but not fast. And it's kind of tough to see where you have to put the needle in. I'll say that, like, if you get the needle in the wrong spot, it's fine. As long as you're in the correct spot more often than not, it'll work fine. And my thread being too long is a little frustrating too, but rethreading the needles annoys me. All right, getting closer. As you go in, every once in a while, you will need to skip a stitch. Otherwise, you're going to make it's going to cup. But it feels like that doesn't happen for a little bit. But so I just skipped one there. And that'll help tighten it down and flatten it. I think if you don't skip stitches, you end up with more of a volcano than a flat stitch. Let's go there. Oh, the sun is coming back out. Maybe I will go sit outside and do some stitching this afternoon. My favorite thing when the weather is nice. Go sew outside. Okay, there we go. I thought I had it wrapped too many times. Let's see how cool that looks. I haven't looked ahead for what I have planned for July, and it's been a while, but we probably have another couple of these circular ones that are really intense next month. I just didn't want to have to do all of them in 1 month. There we go. right, so at this point, I think I'm going to take just a couple more stitches, and I'm going to skip a few just to pull the center tight. Because I really want it, I want it closed. I think that might be the last stitch. Yep, okay, so I'm going to take my needle down to the middle. Boop. Look at how cool that is. That is so fun. All right, so I'm going to go to the back and knot it off. And then I'm going to sit and admire it for a little while and tell myself how amazing I am. All right. Ta-da! So I'll finish the rest of this page off later, but there is our trellis stitch. Look at how cool that is. I can't wait for you guys to try it and tell me how you like it.